Wow. Hello, mothers and daughters. Well, guess what? We are on show 273. And I'm gonna tell you something. I am so excited because it's almost like I'm just looking for that show 365 because that will be, in my opinion, a really, really awesome accomplishment. Now, today I want to kind of do a little story time, and I'll tell you where this story came from. I was talking to a travel associate, and we were just talking about music, and she was just saying, I just don't even understand hip hop. I don't really understand where it comes from, or, I don't know why my kids even like hip hop. And I was like, well, do you know any of the history of hip hop? And she said, not really. So I said, there's been a lot of conversation around hip hop and who started it, why it was started, and where's it going, and all of that. And I said, you just gave me a great idea for a show that I could do. I said, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a show about hip hop and just where hip hop comes from and all of that, just to be able to, I guess, if you want to say, educate people who really don't care about it because they don't know anything about it. They've not been told anything about it. It just, I guess, kind of like pops up into their life, like when their kids start listening to the different music. So, if you can just hold for a moment, we are going to get started with the show. And I want to be able to just give you a little bit more information on hip hop. I really am going to talk about when I fell in love. This is going to be from my perspective. I definitely need to say that because I don't want to get people confused and they think that I'm giving this from a perspective of any kind of like this has to be the truth and this has to be the fact. I'm just going to give it to you from my perspective of when I fell in love with hip hop, and I'm hoping that once I'm at least done talking about how I feel or when I fell in love with hip hop, that there will be somebody that says, oh, well, maybe it ain't so bad. And so that's what my goal is. So, as you know, I like to start off with our beginning. So, here we go.
Welcome to the Mother Daughter-ish podcast. It's your mama's favorite podcast.
And the podcast your daughter always wanted.
This is Miss Dawn
And Aungelique.
from the 713 Houston, y'all. Get connected and stay connected weekly as new shows debut on Sunday, Wednesday, and please check out our Saturday Out and About showcase.
Enjoy the show. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, and tell every woman on the planet that you know about our show.
Here's our show for today.
So now that we've gotten that part out of the way, I just want to really talk to you about, again, when I fell in love with hip hop, why I fell in love with hip hop, why it was so important for me to know about hip hop and to be able to have conversations. And after I tell you about this, then you're going to actually understand what I mean by everything that I'm saying. So as you can see on the screen that I have here, there is just so much to share about hip hop that I feel like if I don't share it with you, then at some point you may have the same question, like, why does this even make sense to listen to? So I'm going to just talk a little bit about hip hop just so that you can get a feel of why it's important to a lot of us. Okay. And when I say a lot of us, I mean people in the culture of hip hop who want to be able to share it with folks that maybe don't understand it, that are possibly of a certain age, of a certain, group of people that they can only associate with. And so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to get started. And while I'm there, I have a little visual for you. But so for me, it was maybe a little different on how I actually fell in love with hip hop, because my time of falling in, I'm talking I'm talking about falling in love. My time of falling in love with hip hop was in the 80s. So that's a little bit different than most people who maybe fell in love with it in the 70s, like possibly my uncles or something like that, the ones that did kind of like it, because I used to think that hip hop was like a cool daddy type of thing, like, oh yeah, only the hip dudes listen to hip hop. But then, you know, of course, they started bringing in the women's rappers. So in case you didn't know, hip hop was definitely a culture. It was not just a fly by night. As you can see, we're in 2023 and it's still here. But hip hop was not just a culture, but it was also an art movement. And you know that has to be true because of the way people express themselves artistically through their drawings, through their creativity with the album covers, through the creativity of the way people dress. For example, the big baggy pants. I did not say saggy. I said the big baggy pants, the oversized t-shirts. Remember when some of you may remember when the group Criss Cross was out, they would wear their clothes backwards, and that was definitely a movement, even down to the type of t-shirts. Like about 2 years ago, I was somewhere and they had a lot of hip hop clothing. They had a Run DMC like half halter shirt, and I was like, I can wear that in the house at least. I'm gonna tell you, I love wearing my Run DMC shirt. I feel like it transports me back to the 80s for sure. And I'm going to tell you what my favorite Run DMC song was. And if you care to go on Google and go on YouTube and look it up, you can absolutely find it there. But hip hop also not only was a culture and an art movement, but it was something that began in the Bronx in New York City. I never knew that until I was well into my 40s. I didn't know where hip hop came from. It just showed up in my ear one day and I decided if I liked it or not. And this was during the late 70s. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that because that wasn't my time of loving it, because I was born in 1972. So my mother, I'm pretty sure, did not listen to hip hop and would not have allowed us to listen to hip hop because that just was not her thing. So my mother's music era is what's mostly in me, that makes me move and groove when I'm working or when I'm, you know, in the car on a trip, or if I'm not listening to a podcast or whatever. I'm listening to Aretha Franklin, I'm listening to Teddy. So I really have taken on the persona of listening to my mother's era of music, which my mother was born in 48. So all of the 50s, 60s, and 70s music is, when I tell you it's in me, it is in me. I love all of the old music. I love listening to Johnny Taylor and ZZ Hill was the blues singer. ZZ Top was the rock band. But anyway, I loved listening to all of that. I can remember us going down the road to Louisiana and my mom and my Aunt Sue. No, I did not say auntie. I said my Aunt Sue sitting in the front seat listening to Cheating in the Next Room. I mean, ZZ, let me tell you. So that's the music that's embedded in me. But as the 80s came along, I started to like other things. So anyway, just so you know, hip hop consists of four main elements. That is your rapping, which so many people I know hate, and I don't understand it. That's DJing. So now when you hear of a famous DJ and you're like, well, that DJ just played music. No. DJing was awesome because they used to carry the milk crates of albums. I'm talking like how, again, hip hop is a culture. Certain things you can say in hip hop, people will not look at you sideways. It's a different type of ebonics type of talk. So I had an uncle who was a DJ, and he used to carry around those milk crates of albums, those 78s, those 45s. And the reason they would carry them around is so that they could have different elements of music, so that if they wanted to mix and scratch, which we'll get to that part. But it contained the four main elements, which was rapping, DJing, b-boying. You don't know what that is? It's breakdancing. If you've never seen the movie Breakdancing, I think even if you watched it today, you could learn something from it, if not the nostalgia of it, if you wanted to watch it. And then the graffiti writing, which I know a lot of cities and towns hate it, but hey, let me tell you how much I love hip hop. When I go to a town, I look for the downtown area, or quotation marks, I look for the hood. Where is the graffiti on the walls where I can get pictures? I'll give you an example. I went to meet with some clients a couple of years ago in Shreveport, Louisiana. When I left that consultation for meeting with them in Shreveport, before I got to the hotel, my hotel was downtown. I rode around to the ends parts of the hotel area downtown, and I got so many beautiful pictures with my car in front of gorgeous, because I have a car club. So they love to see pictures like that. I got pictures of myself in front of graffitied walls. I look at that as an artistic expression, not as, oh my gosh, that's such trash, let's wipe it off. No, it is artistic. Like right now, I still get excited when I leave from where I live and I go downtown and there's the sign on the freeway on 45, cross the 45 cross freeway that says be someone. When they took that down one time and my daughter and I were going there, I was like, where's the sign? Like, I don't even feel like I'm going downtown. Like, it was so dumb. Then it returned and I was so happy. And listen, I have no stake in it because I don't even go downtown much. So why did I care? Because that made Houston home for me personally. So the origin and the name of hip hop is often disputed because people say, well, why did they call it that? Well, hip is an awesome name. And the way they used to dance looked like they were hopping. Because if you ever look at, this is not why it was named that, I'm just giving you my example of how I would explain it to myself if I had to look at my teenage self and say, this is why I think it is. I would say, the way they hopped around when they would do the break dance, and it would be like like the movement, almost like the gyrating type of thing. And they would do it in their arms, their elbows, their, wrists and all of that, their neck and all of that. So that would really explain to a child maybe why hip hop was named hip hop. But it was originated from the phrase hip hop hopping. Again, it explains breakdancing right off the rip. I mean, that just, you hear the word hip hop hopping, the first thing I think is the movie Breakdance. Not to mention the cute guy that was in there. I can't think of his name, but anyway, it was first actually used by DJ Kool Herc, Herc. If you want to look up DJ Kool Herc, you'll be able to see that he was actually the father of hip hop, and that's how when people try to describe how they remember something, if this is the way they remembered it, let's leave it be, to describe the sound. It just really, what it did is it described the sound of hip hop. The earliest hip hop music was characterized as a mix of funk, soul, and disco. You know what? When I hear the word disco, man, I wish I was old enough that I would have gotten a chance to go to Studio 54, not to do all the things that now are coming out that they used to do there, but just to be in the scene of the crowd if I was old enough to go then. And there's nothing like it ever again. I know there's probably a lot of places that try to recreate it, but it's just nothing like what, you hear now was at Studio 54. It is just absolutely wild, the stories that we've heard about Studio 54. The earliest hip hop music was characterized, like I said, as funk, soul, and disco. So if you like funk and you like soul and you like disco, guess what? You like hip hop. You just didn't know it. Here's where I fell in love with hip hop. And when I fell in love with it, it was in the 80s. Let me tell you how that makes sense. Because if I'm born in 1972, I probably didn't even realize what I was listening to until well into the 80s. Because by then I'm a teenager almost, or a teen, tween, preteen, teen, whatever. And that's when you start veering away from what your mama told you and what she said and all those things. And you start hanging with your friends and they're listening to certain music. Let me tell you something. When we used to go get pizza in high school, I had this one friend girl who looked like Mariah Carey. Let me tell you something. Everybody knew that when you get in her car to go down to Bambolino's Pizza, that was the name of it. If you know about it, put it in the comments. If you're from Houston, you got to know. We used to go get Bambolino's Pizza. And this girl would kill us to death with Mariah Carey. Okay. I don't even think she knew what hip hop was. All she knew was Mariah Carey. And because she kind of looked like her, it made sense that she would have fell in love with that. But I fell in love with it first in the 80s, as I can recall, because rap music began to emerge and it began to be very distinct and submerged into what we now call hip hop. I really didn't know what it was called as far as hip hop. All I used to just call it was like rap music. It was nothing significant to me. It was just a piece of the music, that was classical music, which I didn't listen to when I was a kid. There was, the funk music, the disco music, all kinds of music. There was the soul, there was the, jazz music and all of that. So I I've never, even today, I've never been the person to say only listen to one type of music, because I can listen to gospel and then turn around and listen to Boosie Lil Boosie at the same time and feel just as enriched as I did when I listened to the gospel. That may sound like pure blasphemy to some of you, but this is my truth. This is my story time that I'm giving to you. It has been a major influence. Like I said, hip hop has been a major influence, like I told you, on fashion. Again, the clothing. Just like when we look at Kanye West's art and the way he does his clothing, a lot of people will joke and say, well, he does homeless fashion. Okay, if that's the fashion he wants to design, that's fine. Somebody's going to buy it. And then that's their fashion statement. That's fine, whatever. I never have been the person to judge anybody's fashion, because that just is not my thing. I don't care enough to ask what fashion is that. I'm one of those people, I either like it or I don't. I either like you or I don't. I either like that music or I don't. Doesn't matter the genre, just do I like what I'm hearing, seeing, noticing. So of course, fashion, and then we talked about art, and then also into language and technology. Believe it or not, hip hop has also infiltrated into the political system, because about a year ago, maybe about 18 months ago, the mayor of New York said, no more drill music. We're not playing that on the radio, and put a ban on it. There's a lot of things that are having put a ban on that maybe we used to partake in and love, and now it's going to be gone. Like all of you folks who love TikTok, I don't have TikTok, but all of you folks who love TikTok, at some point it may get banned if it continues to get out of hand and all the spyware and all of that. Hip hop does have its own language. You either know it or you don't. Yes, it sounds stupid to some people. Yes, it sounds ghetto to some people. Yes, it sounds like broken language to some people. Yes, it sounds ghetto to some people. Yes, it sounds like ebonics to some people. Yes, it sounds ignorant to some people. To each its own, and that's your business. However you feel about it is your business. I love that my listening ear can appreciate it all. I love that about me. Like when I go places and people are speaking different languages, when I was younger and didn't know much culture, it would annoy me. The way certain people would dress culturally would annoy me. Now I appreciate it and I love it. And so for those folks who listen to rap music, you're like, oh my God, that's such crap and it just sounds horrible. You don't have your ears tuned to it, so of course you wouldn't like it. Again, it's fallen into the language and the technology. It has its own language. It's very profound and impactful in the communities that it serves in. Again, it's gotten into political and social issues. So it has to be big if it's infiltrated all that. If not, it would have been left behind. Hip hop has not been left behind. I don't know where it's going. It has not been left behind. Hip hop as a culture and style of music has its roots from the 1970s. Again, that wasn't my jam, but I will tell you some of the ones that I do like from the 70s, but I didn't learn about them until the 80s. So I need you to know that. I'm just giving you a little history so that you won't think that I'm saying it was only popular in the 80s. No. My listening ear only got a hold to it then. But again, in the 70s in the Bronx, and the culture of hip hop began as a way for African American and Latino youth to express themselves in a creative and a positive way. This is why right now today we have this verbal war about how impactful was the Latino community in the Black rap space. I think it shouldn't be a conversation. It just should be, okay, we shared it. Let's not worry about who was first, who was second, who was third. Let's just say we shared it. If we want to keep it going, we're going to keep it going. The music was usually created with the help of DJs that would play 2 or more records at the same time. And then we call that mixing and scratching. That's what I loved about DJs when they had their tangible records. Now you can be like Paris Hilton. And if you have a Mac computer, you can download all your songs into iTunes and you can play them from there. And then your voice and your hypeness can pump up the crowd. And if you're a great orator and a great crowd pumper, you can be a great DJ as well. I tell people all the time, especially young folks, you know about a lot of parties that are going on. Find out about all the music everybody likes, and that's the music you play. When I had my first fashion show in 2013, I hired a wonderful, beautifully talented young man by the name of Tory, DJ Tory, Tory, here in Houston. And I said, I'm having a fashion show, and here's the flow of the show. I'm going to send you over every single song that I want you to play. I sent him every single song. He uploaded it to his iTunes. He was there to do everything. And then he added on his own flavor, which I gave him permission to do. He added in his own flavor during intermission, during times that was before and after, during, different things. But like, for example, at the end, when I brought up all my team that helped me put the fashion show together, we played Drake Started From the Bottom, Now We Here, because literally we had never done a show like that before. And if you want to watch it, that show is still up on YouTube, and it's Houston's Ultimate Fashion, Business, and Beauty Show. And it is still on there. And if you want to watch it just to maybe get some ideas or be inspired, go for it. It's still there. The music was usually created, like I said, with the help of records and mixing and the scratching, and the DJs become very famous. There are some DJs right now that are still famous. Think about it. DJ Khaled is famous. DJ Funk Flex is famous. DJ Cool Kid is all of these people are famous. Again, back in the 80s, I was not aware of the fame that the DJs were getting. I was not aware of that until I was way up into my 20s or 30s, that we should be giving them some type of homage or accolades. I did not know that. I had no idea. Now, as you know and can see, hip hop is a global phenomenon. I mean, I'm going to say this and you can dispute it all you want. It does not matter, because I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing from my perspective and what I have seen. Hip hop is global to the point that people in foreign countries jam it. People of different races jam it. All the kids that parents don't want them to listen to it, they jam it and love it. Not only that, here's something funny that just happened to me 60 days ago. No, 4 months ago. I'm in a little town called Oaxaca, Mexico. And I'm coming back from my excursion, so I'm really, really, really tired, but we got the radio on and they were listening. I promise you, our whole ride, I heard the Mexican versions of Drake, and I heard the Mexican versions of the Migos. I can't tell you what song they were singing because it was in Spanish, but the cadence, the all that was Migos. The Drake, everybody who listens to Drake knows how his flows go. There was a Mexican version of Drake and there was a Mexican version of the Migos. So it is global. It is a phenomenon that is not going to stop. It's only going to elevate to whatever heights it's going to get to. Let me get to the fun part. So I talk about the 80s and the 70s, and I'm going to do it backwards only because I love talking about what I loved. So in the 80s, and just in case you're wondering how serious I was as a kid when it came to hip hop, I still have all of my cassette tapes. And I'm not talking about the ones I purchased, because I didn't have a lot of those that I purchased, but I'm talking about the ones that I recorded from the radio. The ones where you had to hit record and stop when there was a commercial, the ones that you had to go back and figure out how to stop it at that point, erase where the commercial was so that the next song could start, so that if you wanted to play that cassette player in if you wanted to play that cassette in your cassette player, then you wouldn't have to also hear the commercials. Or if you want, don't laugh, if you wanted to play a snippet of that song on your home voicemail as the background music or whatever, if your parents allowed you. Mine did not, but some kids did. But on Fridays and Saturdays, when kids are listening to the radio Friday because school is over, Saturday, that's your day for leisure. Sunday, you was going to church, so you weren't listening. You better be recording some gospel in my mom's house. But if you wanted to listen and record, that's why we had the beatbox machines. And that's why you had the two cassettes, one on the left, one on the right, so you could record, one where you could listen and rewind and all of that kind of stuff. So my favorites, not in any order, were like Run DMC. My favorite song by Run DMC, even today, I had a lot of them. Don't get me wrong, I had a lot of them, but the one that gives me the beat, that if it comes on in the car, I'm turning it all the way up to 100. I like to Dumb Girl. It was the dumb, 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 dumb. Dumb, 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 dumb girl. It was when the beat broke down. I see you rocking in there and you're in a Mercedes. It was the beat. I need to take some time to gather my breath because I just got so excited. It was the beat breakdown that was killing me. That beat used to make me feel so excitedly dumb, and I loved every minute of it. I don't care what anybody thinks, but that dumb, that was everything to me, and about 7 bags of chips. And if you don't know me, I will tell you, I was a potato chip monster as a kid. Okay. My next favorite was the Beastie Boys. Again, remember, these are in no order. These are just according to what I remember. Beastie Boys. When the Father God help me. When the Paul Revere song would come on, especially at the football games, I'm gonna just tell you, it was all over. License to Kill. I mean, listen, I was somewhere doing something with somebody, and I saw a CD of the Beastie Boys. And even though I have it on cassette, I picked up the CD. It's in my car right now. It's in my car right now next to my MC. Next to my MC Hammer CD. You see, it's something about keeping the flavor of the past that excites me. I don't have to have all the new. Give me the old. I love it. It excites me. Oh. Gives me a feeling of like, who's that singing that song? If we could turn back the time. Sound like Cher. Yeah, if I could just turn back the time. Oh man, that's why I'm going to the 80s. I'm going to the 80s, and I'm gonna sneak a little bit into the 90s so I can get a little Keith Sweat, a little R. Kelly. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say. I'm sneaking into the 90s and getting those too. Aaron Hall, all of those. Okay. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. I never understood their music because it sounded more gangster to me, and I was kind of scared, like, oh, I don't know. You know how when you hear rap and you're like, I don't know anything about that life? Because see, to me, rap went from just an idea of something to, oh my God, they killed who and shot who and who mama did what and who's the slut. Like, that was too much. That's too much to handle. A lot of music that was talking about gangster stuff. I wasn't a gangster, didn't hang around gangsters, don't know what gangster meant, gangster or gangsta. So that did not compute to me. I appreciated it. It didn't compute. Public Enemy. I don't care what you think Flavor Flav looked like. That was the bomb. It was the funniest thing to see him up there with that clock around his neck. And to me, it just was like a symbolism of, hey, we only got so much time to get this going. Even today, Flavor Flav is very popular. On my mother's 70th birthday, we all went to Las Vegas, and my brother and his wife came along, and my brother came back and was so excited. He said, Flavor Flav was riding in his drop top Oldsmobile, something, going down the strip playing his music. He said, and he made a U-turn and came back around. He's like, yeah, I got to see Flavor Flav. And I was just like, yeah, I knew that felt good. My brother's older than me, so I know that felt really good to him. Eric B and Rakim. I like those boys. I liked those boys. I think that I could be wrong, but I think when the hip hop era was there and you had the gangster boys, I think that made the cute girls fall in love with them because they weren't used to gangster boys. They didn't live near gangster boys. They didn't have family members that were gangsters that were allowed to come along. And so I feel like the girls fell in love with the gangster boys because they were like the forbidden fruit. Don't talk to him. Somebody tell you don't talk to somebody, that's who you gonna go for. I was a little bit more scared of the gangster boys, the dope boys, those kind of guys. Now, LL Cool J stole my heart. I went to an LL Cool J concert and I fell in love with his music. Okay, not him. Now, it didn't hurt that he was cute, but I always respected the fact that he had his girlfriend, I think, which is his wife now, Simone or Simona. I always respected the fact that even at 16, he had this girlfriend that even on a couple of his album photos, he always had this girlfriend. And the reason I love that because I had a boyfriend, from the age of 14 until we got married when I was 20. So I always looked at that as like a role model for love, like he's doing his thing and he has his girlfriend that he's, sporting. And I got, my boyfriend and we go everywhere together. And, he's never ashamed to or shy to show me off or anything like that. So I was just excited. So, Mama Said Knock You Out was great from 1990, but in 1987, it was radio. And it was bigger and deafer. That's 85 and 87. That's my love. And then Walking with a Panther. I mean, those are my love. I appreciated Mama Said Knock You Out in 1990. I appreciated the 14 shots to the dome in 1993. I appreciated Mr. Smith in 1995. I appreciated the GOAT in 2000. I appreciated all of that. But it was the 80s that kept me loving LL. Now, this next one is controversial, but again, this is my story. I'm going to tell it the way I want to. I don't care if you don't like it. And when I say I don't care, I'm not being a smart, but I'm saying it didn't come into the tune of your ear. That's okay. I promise you, whoever's listening right now, some of the music that you probably listen to does not compute with your family, your friends, your loved ones, your kids. So I'm giving this story time from my perspective of what I loved. Okay, NWA. Yes, I did go see the movie when it came out. I loved it. I was excited about it. I'll represent it. I'll promote it. No, the lyrics were not wholesome. No, the lyrics were not anything I would want my kids to listen to, but they can. I survived it. They will too. When NWA came out, I used to sneak to the store and try to get somebody to buy me the music because it had so many things in it that I know would not be allowed for me to just go and just buy. But everything they did to me, but when they did the F the police, it was over. I was like, oh my God, that's illegal. That was so, I'm gonna sound real weird. That was so sexy at that point. And again, I think that's why the cute girls like the bad boys, because they felt like, oh, they can protect me. They don't care about this. They don't care about that. They know how to protect themselves. They hold guns. They're in gangs. They got that money. Everybody else want just the way it was. Let me tell y'all something on this next one. When Salt and Pepper came through in 1986 with the Hot, Cool, and Vicious, I was so excited about them. They also had the Salt with the Deadly Pepper in 1988. I was so excited about Salt and Pepper because here we go with the girls now. I was so excited about them. As a matter of fact, I was looking at a picture of me on the beach and I had that wop-sided haircut where it was curls on one side and then the other side was long and the front part looked like a bang. So you had a bang going all the way around to the right side and then you had the long swoop coming down to the left. Baby, if you would have told me that I wasn't the bomb.com in that haircut, we probably would be still fighting today. We would still be fighting today. Boogie Down Productions, I never really got into it, not because they weren't good, but just because I just never did really get into it. No big deal. I'm still gonna list them as being a pretty awesome. Cool Mo D. Yeah, I liked Cool Mo D. My oldest brother used to listen to Cool Mo D, and I used to listen to that as well. As a matter of fact, my oldest brother used to listen to Dougie Fresh and all that stuff too, and that's how I found out about that. But baby, let me tell you something. When MC Hammer came through, when the videos used to come on the TV, so let me tell y'all something. We lived in a house in the hood. The front part of the house didn't have central air and heat, but the back part of the house didn't either, but it had a window unit. The front side of the house, you're just going to be hot. You know, you had two temperatures. You were going to either be cold or you was going to be hot. Whenever it was comfortable, just shut up and sit down. That's just the way it was. Whatever. You don't like it? Oh, well. So my mom's room had the window unit directly in the house. In the back side of the house would cool up the other front side of the house. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. And so when the video used to come on, well, it was three things that I would go in my mom's room because she had cable in her room. The other TVs was in the dining room because you weren't allowed to have a TV in your room. I'll never forget when my brothers got a TV in their room and then they would lock their door and go to work, and I would get the butter knife and I would open up their door, go in there, watch TV. When it was almost time for them to go off work, I would then come out of the room and act like I never knew what was going on. I put everything back in. And plus my brother had a water bed so I could go in it. Anyway, hope he never listens to the show, but anyway, it happened. I survived. You did too. Goodbye. So anyway, MC Hammer and Carol Barnett show. Those were the two things that I would go in my mama room and watch because she had the direct AC. And baby, if you know those dance moves on from MC Hammer, you know I was in there sweating. So I needed, do you hear me? I needed the AC. Baby, I was in there. You know, the only thing I regret, I'm even today still looking for me some MC Hammer pairs. I actually think I'm gonna get my seamstress to make me a few pair because I like them when I'm traveling. So anyway, listen, I would go in my mom's room and I would be dancing up a storm. Baby, I had every dance down packed. If I was to turn on an MC Hammer video right now, I could do all those dances. One thing I never understood was why he had like 40 people on the stage, but it didn't matter. Baby, I was doing those dances like those dances were going out of style. And guess what? They did. So I was smart. But that was what I used to do, would go in there and watch TV because she had cable and the AC in her room. Now, of course, in the dining room, in the den, which is a general sitting area, we would sneak out of the room, and at nighttime, there was cable in there, and turn the TV down real low and watch BET After Dark. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it and good luck. Slick Rick. I like Slick Rick. He used to wear the patch over his eye, and I thought that was so cool. He used to dress like a pimp, and I thought that was so cool. Again, you heard me earlier. That's why I had to explain to you what hip hop did to people. I'm going to tell you, I told you earlier, it was a culture, it was a language, it was fashion, it was all of that. So when you hear me say things like he dressed like a pimp, I'm not saying I liked pimps. I'm saying he lived up to his name, Slick Rick. Then came a Tribe Called Quest. I really wasn't into them, but it wasn't if I say I wasn't really into them, that just means I didn't buy their CD or back then their cassette tape. EPMD, wasn't really into them. De La Soul, I thought they were okay. The little music background was good. Wu-Tang Clan, I really wasn't into them. I thought they were demonic. I thought that they had devil music. I thought they were weird. It was too much masculine energy happening there that was scary to me, so I wasn't really into them. Again, my perspective, my point of view. I'm not saying that they weren't good. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying I wasn't into it. Baby, my next one that's controversial that you Google it and you're going to say, oh, Dawn is a heathen. Oh, well. Too Short. I still listen to Too Short. I have it on my Spotify. I have it on my Apple iTunes. I still listen to my Too Short music. I have one song that I have downloaded that's the long version. I cannot say what it is because you're going to think I'm even more of a heathen. But baby, my Too Short was always on point. I never knew what Too Short looked like. And then when I saw him, I was like, it's too late now. I'm still listening. If you know, then you know. Ladies, you know. I never was really into Ice-T because I always thought Ice-T was a pimp. And pimps didn't excite me like that. And I said Slick Rick dressed like a pimp, but pimps used to dress real smooth, the leather jackets and the slack pants and the gaiters and, the button down shirt with or without a tie, most of the time without one. And they always wore like a Kangol hat or some kind of fedora or something. So I'm talking about the fashion piece of rap that was slick, which is what gave Slick Rick that extra oomph. He was a cool dude, not saying he was attractive to me or anything like that of the sort. That's the other thing I can remember as a young girl is that I had boundaries. Although I may have liked these guys' music, and if they were super cute or whatever, it didn't matter to me. I never looked at them like, oh my gosh, I'd like to meet them. Now, them New Edition boys, that was another story because they were around a little bit my age. Now that I see them, they're a lot of bit my age. One or two of them is my age. So we're in our 50s. So I had a respect for myself and my mental clarity that, you don't look at older guys like that. You love the music. But now I see with the rappers that come out and the hip hop moguls or whatever, the girls are wanting to get to them literally. Yes, I know back in the day, girls and women were getting to these boys, but I mean, it's like a concerted effort. And I never thought like that. Repping my city in Houston, on my list next was those Ghetto Boys, baby. The Ghetto Boys was the bomb. Willie D, all of them. The Ghetto Boys were everything because the South had come in to save the 80s for our group and generation. And then, of course, you know, we have a different type of rap here. The South is different. And I'm talking South from Texas to Louisiana, all the way through to Florida. We have, and then we're going on and claim Atlanta over there, but we have a different type of rap over here in Houston. And I like the way we do what we do. I don't ever pass up an opportunity that when I hear some music from the South to listen to it and to rep and to be able to smile because it's from my hometown of Houston, Texas. But then you had Digital Underground. And they were also, so the ones I just listed were not just the ones that I loved, but then also the ones that were the most popular in the 80s. Now, let me go in reverse. We're going to reverse. Let me take you back, like I said, to the 1970s. I'm going to name them and then I'm going to tell you yes or no if they were on my radar. These are the most popular ones, so they were on somebody's radar. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. I thought the name was too long. I liked them, but didn't love. Africa Bambaataa, didn't know of this person, knew of a few songs, but didn't know of this person until 10 years ago. Run DMC again was good in the 70s. Sugar Hill Gang, yes. Curtis Blow, absolutely. The Fat Boys, absolutely. I even went to the movies with, I think I went by myself. This was back in the day when your mama could drop you off at the movie theater. You only see the movie, get some snacks, and you only get back in the car with your mama to go home. Nowadays, people go to the movies, they hooking up. They think they gotta go eat after, and then they gotta eat after and go to the club. No, my mom would drop me off at the movie. She knew exactly how long the movie was gonna be. Maybe she went to the mall or whatever and picked me right on back up at the movie theater. There was no shenanigans, okay? I'm not saying that as a teenager I didn't get into shenanigans, and there's nothing that I would tell the public about anyway. Okay, but I'm just saying that was not one of the things that you was gonna get away with. And because the movies theater was a little further down the street, I couldn't walk there. We were only allowed to walk to the movies with groups of maybe 6 to 10 people. It wasn't ever going to be 1 or 2 people, because back then we didn't have an awareness really that there was so much danger because we didn't hear about it. But because you're from the hood, everybody kind of looked out for everybody. So everybody knew, oh, them, you know, those Fred and Teddy sisters. Okay, they cool. The Fat Boys, like I say, Public Enemy, LL Cool J again, the Beastie Boys again, Kool Moe Dee. And so hip hop has been loved for a long time. And I think that it's been loved because it is a dynamic twist of versatile, expressive art and fashion, all wrapped up into a ball that reflects the experiences from people who have experienced what they're talking about, which is a little controversial for what I just said, because if it's considered your reflective experiences, then why shouldn't your words that you wrote be used in a courtroom, because you are talking about what you've seen, done, and experienced? My problem is so many fake rappers are out here and hip hop people are out here that they are borrowing stories from other people and making it their life. And then all of a sudden they have a new persona, or they're a built-in op who has a persona that probably really was somebody else's. So, you know, it's a hard thing to say if I think that the rap music lyrics should be used against them in a court of law, because you are now taking away the creative reflection. But then maybe it may reset them back to rapping the way MC Hammer and all these other people used to rap, because I would still listen to that if it was good. You know what I'm saying? If the words made sense. And when I say make sense, I don't mean sense as in to me literally, but if it made sense as a flow, just as a general flow. So rap also tells stories, it expresses emotions, and it provides an outlet for creative expression. You know, like you meet people, and let's just say they're an artist. Like I have a son who's an artist and he loves his artwork. This boy was drawing anime, cartoon things, Pokemon. I didn't know what that was. I appreciated it, but I didn't know what it was until he explained it, and I started seeing in the cartoons and in the video games, and then I started learning about what anime was and started learning about Japanese art. I did not know what he was drawing at 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. And even when he started then putting limbs to these characters, I did not know what that was. Now he can draw actual expressions of, you know, humans and pets and anime and all that. And he has gotten to be such an expert at it that I personally wish that he could be in the movie industry where he was creating animation characters in movies, and because he has really funny stories that he tells. But believe it or not, rap and believe it or not, hip hop can actually be a source of community building. Because let's say I'm the quiet kid and I don't talk to anybody because I'm afraid I'm a new kid at the school and I don't really know you. So I'm not going to talk to you because my mama told me don't talk to strangers. So that means you're a stranger. So I'm not really going to talk to you. If you came up to me and you're like, hey, my name is so-and-so. I see that you're a new kid at the school. I'm listening to Run DMC. Have you heard of them? Do you like them? And if the person's like, have I heard of them? I like them. Oh my gosh, I love Run DMC. Would you like to listen to my other earbud? We can listen to the earbud while we're sitting here, you know, during lunch or whatever. That way you don't have to be sitting here by yourself. I can honestly tell you, my girls have told me that when new students came to their high schools and they would see them sitting by themselves having lunch or just kind of nobody talking to them, they would go over and make friends with them. I have my youngest daughter, she's still friends with some girls that she did that with, and it turned out to be a good situation. So my kids are friendly like that, and they have, I'm going to assume, discernment to know who they should be associating with to see if they have commonality. So yes, hip hop can be community building, because if you think about the scenario I just gave you, it could definitely be that, but it's also an energy source. Let me tell y'all something. When I am working and I need the creativity to really be there as a background music, I'm listening to Lil Boosie. I'm listening to all of my Creole music from Louisiana. I'm listening to Big Frida. I'm listening to I love that New Orleans bounce music. I'm listening to all of that because it keeps my adrenaline high and keeps me going. Now, when I just want to chill and research, I'm listening to Teddy Pendergrass. I'm listening to Tina Marie. I'm listening to all of the greats, you know, back there. I'm listening to Gregory Porter. I'm listening to Rochelle Ferret. I'm listening to all of that to just keep me calm when I have minimal work. But when I got a lot of work, like today, I had a lot of work I needed to do. I'm writing grants like a banshee. I'm just writing for clients, and I'm sitting there listening to all different kinds of music. I'm changing up the flow of it. When I get toward the end, I'm going over to a podcast, listening to that. You know, I'm going over here listening to, you know, formulas for spiritual baths. I'm just all over the place, depending on what I'm doing next. And every project that I do warrants a different type of background information. Some of them, if I'm just researching, I can listen to a show where I need to take notes. If I'm working on something where I need my mind to be a creative and do proposals, I can't also take notes. It messes up my flow. So there are some times when I want to listen to gospel music, you know, just depends on what type of work I'm doing. But I want to end this by telling you when I fell out of love with hip hop. Now, again, this is my story. Again, this is my opinion. If someone in this genre is listening and they say, oh, forget her, she don't know what she's talking about, I'm okay with that. One thing I told my daughter when we started this podcast together, I said, you know, when we get on YouTube, you know, there are going to be trolls and people that have a lot to say, but guess what? Don't worry about it. Your mother is built for this. I'm built for those kind of negative comments. I'm built for people saying bad things to you. I'm one of those people that you can say whatever you want. You can say about my mama, my grandmother that I never met. You can say whatever you want to say. And I'm going to say, well, thank you for sharing. Have a good day. Make sure you subscribe. I mean, like, I'm that girl because I'm built for the bull. And the reason I think I'm built for the bull is because I'm here to teach a lesson of that's not going to affect everyone. So it doesn't bother me when people have negative things to say. It rolls right off my back. I was taught this lesson from my mother when I was in probably elementary school, not to worry about what other people have, not to be jealous about what other people have. Focus on yourself. And if they're not paying any of your bills or buying any of your school clothes, why are you worried about what they have to say? So I learned that lesson very early on. And I tell everybody that says, well, you just don't get bothered. And I'm like, it's not that I don't get bothered. It's just that it's not worth giving my energy to. So here's where I personally fell out of love with the new hip hop, not the old stuff. I'm still into all of that. When the mumble rap sounds came along, I pretty much was out. Not because I didn't understand it, because I can look up words to anything. You can look up the lyrics to anything. Back in the day, we used to have to press play, write down what they said, reread it, press play again, press stop, write it, reread it. After we finished pressing play and stop and writing all the lyrics to a song, then we would have to go back and rewind it back to the beginning and then read through to make sure we didn't miss any words. That's how I used to get my lyrics. Now I can just go to YouTube and put in lyrics to Willow Smith's 6 Dimension song, and it tells me. By the way, I love that song. And when I learned the words to it from looking at the lyrics, I was even more excited. But mumble rap turned me off. This next one, if anybody is listening to it from this area, you're not going to like what I'm saying. I'm just telling you my experience. Please allow me to share my experience with hip hop with you. And then in the comments, you can share yours with me if you like. When Atlanta rap entered the building, I was out. I never was into the T.I.s and all the other rappers. Right now, I can tolerate Future. I can tolerate about 5 more rappers from Atlanta, but that's about it. But I'm talking, remember, I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about in the 70s and 80s, mostly the 80s when Atlanta raps entered the building. I was out. Today's date with drill music, I'm completely out. Because it's almost like they mixed the mumble rap, bull crap, Atlanta-ish, and more bull crap and got in death and got drill. And I'm out, okay? I also left the building when a lot extra degrading of Black women got fused into the rap, you know, calling, you know, the women the B's and the H's and the do this to me and do that to me and I'll do this to you and that to you. Listen, it was nasty, disgusting music back in my mom's day. I've listened to the lyrics. I've sat down and watched how the lyrics were formed, and some of them were real raunchy. But this degradation of Black women, and it seems like it's focused solely on Black women, and because I'm a Black woman, I care. I don't want to listen to it. I don't want to listen to it. When the videos start matching the raunchiness, yes, I looked. Yes, I wanted to know who the dude was singing it and what girl was in the rap music, you know, what rapper girl was in there and who the video ladies were. I wanted to know who these people were. All of that viewing, I'm so glad I had such an innocence about me because I just found out who Corinne Steffen, aka Superhead, just found out who she was when she wrote her book. I never remember seeing her in a video. Now, when they go back and they play the video, I'm like, oh yeah, that was that girl. I did not know her. I didn't know anything about what the video girls were doing. I just assumed they went to strip clubs and they got these girls from there. I did not know it was a whole video vixen, whole business around that. I had no idea. I mean, just like the innocence in me is so cute, it's ridiculous. Okay, that's my story time on hip hop and when I fell in love with it. And I have to tell you, I don't know where hip hop is going. If it goes any worse than where it's gone, then it will eventually disappear to my age group, of course, and older. I would probably say 45 and older, we won't be listening to it at all. If it's all going to go toward the drill and it's all going to go toward all this other stuff, we don't care about it anymore, which is really sad because if they had just kept it in the vein of the 80s, the 70s and 80s, and part of the 90s, I think we could have got away with it. But right now, I have no idea where hip hop may go. And I think that's kind of sad because I'm gonna be honest with you, I really don't want to lose hip hop. I don't want to be turned off by hip hop. I really don't. I don't want to I don't want to be one of those people that say, "Oh, back in the day, we had hip hop and blah 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 blah, and this is what it used to be." And then I have to bring out all my tapes, all my CDs, and then go on whatever platform has all the music on again. So I don't know where hip hop is going, but I do know this. I know that I want to thank you for listening, and I want to thank you for allowing me to be able to share with you what I loved about hip hop and why I loved what I love about hip hop, as well as you giving me an opportunity to show you why I loved hip hop, because you just might not have understood why I loved hip hop. But now you get an opportunity to be like, huh, well, that kind of makes sense why, she would love hip hop. It was, it was a thing back then, and it was a culture, and it was something that was fused into whatever we loved. I am asking you for only 3 things right now. I'm going to ask you to make sure you are subscribed. If you are not, please do. I'm going to ask you to hit the little thumbs up like for this video. And the last thing I'm going to ask you to do is to please do me the biggest favor and share this with all the people who don't understand what I was talking about but may be interested in learning. That's my show for today on hip hop, and I am so thankful that I was able to share this with you because it it really excited me. It really did. Thank you. Thank you for watching Mother Daughter Ish.